Hallo, goedemiddag. Daar zijn we. We zijn begonnen met het webinar. Laat even weten allemaal thuis of jullie mij zien, of jullie mij horen, of het allemaal goed gaat. Je weet het nooit meer met de techniek van vandaag. Dus laat het even weten in de chat. Kijk, ik zie heel wat mensen. Kijk. Het is nog niet dat Bart er weer is. Geweldig, superleuk om je weer terug te zien, Bart. En Arjan, superleuk. Kijk, Peter, superleuk om jullie er allemaal bij te hebben, jongens. Bedankt allemaal voor het aanmelden van het webinar. En we gaan het vandaag hebben over de Ultimate Detection and Response. Ik ben zelf Robin Smit, MSP Solution Advisor binnen Portland. En we gaan je vandaag vertellen alles over de transitie van EV naar EDR of zelfs naar MDR. We gaan je alles vertellen over Detection and Response. De left of boom handelen. Voor sommigen is dat nog onbekend. Daar zullen we vandaag meer over gaan vertellen. En natuurlijk welke commerciële kansen er zijn als MSP. In dit webinar, het is niet echt een webinar, het is meer een panel. Dus ik wil jullie, iedereen die er is, dus Peter, Bart, Floris, Alfred, iedereen die er is en meekijkt. Ik wil jullie vragen, stel jullie vragen in de chat. We kunnen jullie op stage vragen namelijk. En dan kunnen we een leuke open discussie voeren. Samen met de sprekers die er vandaag ook aanwezig zijn. Dus mochten jullie vragen hebben of dingen willen vertellen over jullie ervaring. Of hoe jullie dat aanvliegen. Laat het vooral weten. Dan zorgen we dat jullie op stage halen. Laten we starten bij de reden van dit evenement. Waarom dit evenement en waarom dit webinar? De nieuwsartikelen staan er vol mee. De kranten staan er vol mee. Dus moeten we nog meer vertellen over waarom we die eindgebruikers in de Benelux nou eigenlijk een stukje veiliger moeten maken. En waarom is het goed om zeker te blijven innoveren op cybersecurity. Nou, hier staan een aantal krantartikelen van dit jaar. Dit zijn ze zeker nog niet allemaal, want wekelijks komen er nieuwe berichten bij. Maar om mij een idee te geven waarom het van belang is. Verder, om te introduceren met Portland. We gaan vandaag focussen op het stukje secure. Wij volgen alle 3 pilaren binnen ons mantra. Powering High Performance MSP's. En dat doen we met 3 verschillende pilaren. Zowel profitability, dus we zorgen ervoor dat jij als bedrijf winstgevend bent. Maar we leggen ook jouw proposities ernaast om te kijken, joh, hoe veilig zijn jullie nou eigenlijk? En hoe winstgevend zijn jullie nou eigenlijk? En wat valt er te veranderen binnen jullie techstack om jullie meer winstgevendheid te creëren? Nou, secure, daar gaan we het vandaag veel meer over hebben. Dus hoe zorgen we er nou voor dat het eindgebruikers Nederland nou eindelijk een stukje veiliger wordt? Door middel van bijvoorbeeld een betere 24/7 security stack. En dan uiteraard, waar een gemiddelde MSP tussen de 20 en 25 tools of dashboards gebruikt, zitten wij ook te kijken als Portland zijnde, hoe kunnen we ervoor zorgen dat we consolideren in het aantal dashboards, maar niet inleveren op de kwaliteit van onze dienstverlening. Dat is ons mantra, dus mocht je daarover willen zitten of mocht je er iets interessants tussen vinden, laat het vooral weten en dan boeken we samen een afspraak in. Om een idee te geven, voordat we starten, om wat termen en wat te bespreken, is als we praten over een probleem, dan praten we over de boom. Dit kan zijn een hack, een data breach, phishing attack, malware, het kan van alles zijn. Waar we gemiddeld, helemaal in 2023, transitie in 2024, voornamelijk op de right of boom zitten. Dus we reageren vaak reactief, we zijn vaak te laat, we hebben niet de juiste tools in plaats. Het is onoverzichtelijk, we weten het zelf vaak ook niet. En daarbij is het dus vaak crisismanagement. Met de sprekers van vandaag en het gesprek wat we vandaag gaan voeren, hoop ik jullie te inspireren om meer naar de left of boom te bewegen. Dus we zijn veel proactiever richting de eindgebruikers. We hebben de juiste procedures in plaats. Het is inzichtelijk wat we doen. Het is tastbaarder voor de eindgebruiker, wat verschrikkelijk moeilijk is. En we leveren gewoon een betere beveiliging. Dus met vandaag hoop ik jullie te inspireren. Hoe bewegen we er nou naar dat left of boom? Om wat termen, wat andere acroniemen binnen onze markt nog even te verduidelijken. EDR, MDR, XDR en SOC. Dat zijn de voornamelijkste termen die we kunnen gebruiken. Natuurlijk heb je nog wat aan de voorkant ook zitten. Dus het proactieve, vulnerability scanning, threat hunting. Zorgen dat we alles inzichtelijk hebben. Maar EDR kennen we natuurlijk als Endpoint Detection Response. Een managed version daarvan is MDR. XDR is een framework waarin je vendor-agnostisch meerdere security tools gebruikt. En het SOC, het Service Security Operating Center, om 24/7 mee te kijken naar wat voor alerts je nou eigenlijk ontvangt. En wanneer je nou iets echt nodig is om jullie bij in te schakelen of dat het SOC het zelf oplost voor jullie. Dat zijn de acroniemen die vandaag te sprake zullen komen. We hebben 2 sprekers vandaag, zowel Acronis als ConnectSecure. Acronis hebben we Cornel Heikoop. Meesten zullen hem kennen van zijn technische kennis. Een technisch genie binnen het product van Acronis. En Chris, oud-Pax achter, nu verantwoordelijk voor de VP Sales voor ConnectSecure. En die zullen we allebei op stage halen. En we zullen zorgen dat wij jullie inspireren om te kunnen kijken, ook met de producten van Acronis en ConnectSecure en hun ervaring binnen de markt, wat zij doen en hoe zij het aanvliegen. Als het goed is, worden ze nu ook op stage gevraagd. So let's switch over to English. Hi Cornel, hi Chris.
Hey Robin.
Good to see you guys. Good to see you. I think it's good to start with a short introduction because Chris, Cornel, especially Cornel, you're more in the technical things, so the face behind the product. But let's start with a short introduction. Chris, would you mind give us a short introduction about yourself?
Yeah, sure. My name is Chris. I am the Director of Global Alliance for ConnectSecure. I handle our distribution network globally. I came on with the company in February, but I had previously worked with them in the channel for about 3 years. I have a strong security background, bachelor's in cybersecurity and information systems, security plus CompTIA certified. Been in the space for a total about 6 years now.
Jeez, that's already a long time. What made you, 6 years ago, what made you go in this industry? What made you go into cybersecurity?
That's a great question. My grandparents retired from IBM. Both my parents work for Seagate Technology, who they do storage. And so it's kind of always been around and in my life. And I've always been fascinated with it. And security just really grabbed my attention. And I love it.
Awesome. Thanks, and very nice to have you on this meeting. And thank you so much for making time in your busy calendar. As we all know, we're very busy in this industry. Cornel, can you give us a short introduction about yourself as well? You're on mute. There's no mic. All right, I already see him typing. Cannot go off mute. All right, then we'll wait for it to solve, Cornel. I think we can just wait. Cornel, hopefully you can try and test things. You can go off mute. It will be very helpful in this conversation. For now, Chris, you're working for ConnectSecure. Can you tell us more about the role that you're participating within ConnectSecure?
Sure. So I manage the distribution of our software through our channel partners like Portland. I'm sure a lot of the partners on the call are familiar with the product. We do vulnerability scanning, patch management, and compliancy. And my role is to ensure that the partners are getting the setup properly on the software, that all their needs are being met, and receiving any feedback to bring back to our dev team to make improvements and grow the software in the way that the MSP community wants and needs to function for them.
Awesome. That's great. I see Cornel rejoined, maybe still on mute. So let's go to the first question with Chris. And Cornel, hopefully you can fix it because you're the technician. I had some high words for you. So no, let's start with the first but is going very rent of the tips. But Chris, let's start with, because I know the left of boom. I know it's a very known case for you guys as ConnectSecure because you're more on the left of boom instead of the right of boom. So right. Can you tell us how did the left of boom came up with ConnectSecure and how does it fit with each other?
Well, really, when you move to the right of boom after the event's taken place, it's really more in a reactive state, and that's the state that we don't want anybody to find themselves in. So the way that we position it is we really want to harden your attack surface. And the way I look at it is using us to fortify your networks and your customers' networks is really like taking vitamins and supplements and working out and being healthy. That way, when it's flu season, you're not worried about, getting sick, as opposed to, not protecting yourself and then it's too late and then you're sick and you're taking medicine. And that's kind of the way that we position it. So we're really wanting to increase your health and your posture and make sure that your security position's in a good place to keep you on the left of boom. So when events happen, it's very limited to nothing and keep you out of that right of boom.
Awesome, that's great. And I'm very curious about the people in chat. Are you aware of where you're at? Are you more on the left of boom, or are you more on the right of boom? And let me know, what are you more on this current state? Because I'm very interested in how we can help you, of course, to get you more to the left of boom. Like Chris said, you don't want to be sick when it's the flu season, right? How does Connect Secure play with this? Is it because it's a pure product to be on the left of boom? You can do like anything that's more right of boom. So how do you guys play with it, and how do you help and support MSPs to go more left of boom? And what do you see in the market?
So we have multiple different vectors within our solution, but we do a surface mapper scanning tool, and so that's like gives you complete vulnerability, so you can see the threat intelligence, identify open ports, IP, subdomains, email, usernames. You could really see where the network is weakest, and then make the improvements. CVEs come out every 17 minutes. We pull every 6 hours from the National Vulnerability Database, Cisco and Google buckets, and constantly update. We're the most updated, or one of the most updated vulnerability scanning and patch management tools. And we also have our own repository with all the patches pre-built in and updated. So when the vulnerabilities, when the patching changes, we automatically update that for you. And with our patch scheduler, it really helps keep your network healthy and protected. That way the bad guys can't come in and bring you onto that right of boom. Now with our solution, if you do find yourself post-event and on that right of the boom, we still have the ability to do all the patching. So, however the bad guys got into the network, we could still do the scan and do the patching to prevent it from happening again in the future, and look for any additional entry points that they may have into your network.
No, that's great, and I hear a lot of positive feedback as well. I received one question from Bart. Is Connecture just a patch management platform? I know the answer. It's way bigger than that, because it's pure play MSP. But maybe you can enlighten him.
Yeah, it's so first and foremost, we're a vulnerability scanning tool. The patch management is built into it, so it's a 2-in-1. This way, you don't have to go use a third party to do all the patching. But additionally, we do compliance. Compliance is one of the biggest ones. We also do PII. Our personal identifiable information is bigger in the States, but I know that it's happening more and more in the Benelux and the EU. So we also offer those solutions as well. So it's much more than just a vulnerability tool. Additionally, a lot of our partners use us as a prospecting tool to get new customers and to sell the products and additional solutions to existing partners.
That's great. So Bart, is your question answered? And I see he's already asking another question, that's pen testing. Are you guys doing that as well?
No. So pen testing is a different solution. Generally, that will be done by like a SOC company or somebody like that. It costs running tens of thousands of dollars, take a couple months. We don't have engineers that do the penetration testing. We simply do the vulnerability scanning. We don't do any like brute force attack attempts on your network. We're not trying to break in. All we're doing is scanning and looking for openings and patching them.
Awesome. All right. So, Bart, let me know if your questions has been answered. And Cornel, I received from a team that you're
Yeah,
unmuted.
you can hear me. That's great.
We can finally hear you. Maybe you can start with a short introduction, and from there
Well,
on, we will loop you in.
it was too bad that I was yesterday not able to test the environment. And now you see we are 15 minutes late on the webinar. So it makes sense to test before the webinars. So the next time we will.
No worries at all. No worries at all. Cornel, what's your introduction? You're from Acronis. Of course, we know that, but tell us something about yourself.
Yeah, short introduction. I'm a solution engineer. What means that during the last 4 years, I was able to work with our platform to look at what we have there, from backup, disaster recovery to all the security, remote desktop, all those things. So we have a broad platform with a lot of functionality, and security is one of the features in it.
Oh yeah.
So if you just look at the question, how do you help MSP shift to the left of boom? Our platform is all about knowing upfront to be proactive, to see things when they happen, but also before they happen. And yes, we can resolve things, remediate things, yes, of course. But the main focus is to know upfront what's happening when it happens.
Exactly. And do you see, Cornel, because you're talking with MSPs as well, maybe on a different path than commercially, but more on a strategic and technical way. But what do you see that MSPs currently have in their tech stack? How far are they on the left of boom right now?
Well, most MSPs have point solutions. So there was a problem somewhere at some time. They found a solution with a certain product, and they're using it for a long time. And then they have another problem. They have another fix for another product, and then they use it. And if they have 4 or 5 management consoles where they need to log in, only at that time they say, well, perhaps we should consolidate to look at why we are using certain programs, components, and then with a helicopter view look at it. Mm-hmm. But that's after a long while.
Yeah, 100%. So, and typically, where does like a customer of Acronis, where does it stand, and how much of the full, because the system of Acronis is very huge. Mm-hmm. So, how much do they, on average, how much do they use of the whole platform?
I would say that 60% of all MSPs who are using Acronis will do backup, whereas some of them don't even know that we do more than backup only.
Yeah.
So only a small percentage use our complete platform. But if you at least use several features, like do a backup of your server, yes. Make sure that you use EDR stuff on your system, yes. But if you combine those things, so if you also scan your backup every hour for the latest malware, because we know that malware only appears lately after 70 or 100 days lumbering in the backup.
Yeah.
So if you find it then if you want to do a recovery of something, then you know already there is something in it or not. So talking about proactive, yes, that's proactive.
Yeah, exactly. So because of the start of Acronis was, of course, the big backup vendor, disaster recovery vendor. Mm-hmm. So with only using the backup solution, you are pretty aligned on the left of boom already. Yeah. But still, there's a lot to get because of the whole platform is so huge. And this makes a nice transition to you both guys. It's like, because there are a lot of MSPs within this meeting, and I know a lot of MSPs are still using an AV or a simple basic Defender as an EDR. And I know the Defender of EDR is getting 80% of all the problems. And then they have another tool next to it. But when is it a good transition to go from an EDR to everything else, or go from an AV to an EDR to start with?
I would personally say moving from AV to EDR immediately would be a good first step. Traditional antivirus, they work off the buckets of known viruses, and there's a pre-built script and they can protect it. But there's so many zero-day threats being thrown out into the market. Standard traditional AVs just simply can't detect anymore. EDR uses machine learning. They will actively threat hunt in the network, and they'll look for anomalies and changes in the system and things that they don't think should be there, and they'll quarantine it and if necessarily kill it. Whereas standard AV can't necessarily do that. And for us, EDR and vulnerability, they detect similar threats, but the focus is different. EDR specializes in detecting and responding on endpoint level threats, while vulnerability scanners focus on identifying the weakness in the system that can be exploited by the attacker. So really moving to the EDR in the world that we currently live in is going to be essential to protecting a system from all the zero-day attacks that are out there, and then complementing it with the vulnerability scanning, just to make sure that, there's really no way in the first place. But if they do get in, that you can actively threat hunt and kill and quarantine any viruses or any malware that gets into the system.
Yeah, that's what we see as well in the market, to get like an EDR or an AV, an EDR, and an vulnerability scanning next to it, just to make sure that everything is closed. Cornel, I know Acronis is his proposition is very based on like the security stuff with 365 as well.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think, is it nice to, when are you talking with MSPs that are using an AV currently and wants to make the transition to an EDR?
Well, it's an easy answer. Our lowest level of security we offer is advanced security and EDR. So you can downscale it by not enabling certain items of EDR. So if you want AV, you must make a proper settings there. So if you buy a sports car, why won't you limit it by only running 50 kilometers an hour? So EDR is the lowest level you can, which means that in our case, it's about the response things. So it's detection. Well, detection and quarantine is general AV, but it goes on the response on that one. So if you want to know how it comes in, what it happens, what techniques are being used, what opening is, what threat is used, then of course you want to have EDR, nothing less than that. And if you look at the remediation of those things, you want to do something to resolve things, and you can do many things. And with EDR, you have the option and the capability of doing so by network isolation or fell over to disaster recovery, to name the two of them. So EDR is the minimal level you need to have.
And do you think that is like, because you don't sell an AV, right? So your minimum security level, that's an EDR. So do you think, and that's an opinion, I totally understand, but do you think like for an MSP, it has to be the minimum level of security to have an EDR in place?
Well, the term MSP, it is called managed service provider. So you manage things, which means if you only sell an AV, you don't manage anything.
No.
Well, EDR, you want to do something to make sure that the customer or their customers are running smoothly. So you manage the customer. So of course,
Yeah. So that's a big yes. And for you as well, Chris, what do you see in the market? Like, is it a hard transition to go from an AV to implement an EDR with your customers as well?
It really hasn't been just showing the performance and what they could actually capture. And as Cornel said, the ability to be reactive to these threats. And one of the other things, not only zero day, but zero trust, which is internal, right? So now with remote workers and all the applications that we share, it's so easy for malicious activity to move between these applications where, standard AV can't block that. And really it's easy to show partners, on a network. If you do an EDR, it'll automatically just start killing and quarantining, and you could pull that quarantine list and just show, here's what's going on. Standard AV just isn't up to the task anymore. We just really need to move on to this next phase. And I haven't seen too much objection. The cost is generally a little bit higher, but I mean, what's your brand worth to you? How long can you be down if your network is breached? It's kind of like driving a car with insurance versus no insurance. Like you'll pay a premium, but you're protected, or you're in an accident and then you're out and you didn't see it coming. So really trying to get them to understand the importance of the evolution of the attacks and where we're at today. It requires the evolution of the software, and that's where EDR comes in. We're matching the pace of the bad guys with this new solution, where the previous antivirus standalone just isn't up to the task anymore.
And that pace is ridiculously fast. And then Cornell, for you, it's like the Defender EDR, because that I hear with all my partners, they're selling Microsoft licenses already. So why shouldn't I use Defender as an EDR? What's your answer to that? And what do you see in market with that? You can be brutally honest. I see you already laughing. So.
Yeah. Do you want a technical answer or a financial answer?
No. Like, what do you see in market? What's your opinion about only using an EDR from Microsoft?
Without offending anyone, but everybody
never
says,
call babies ugly.
Everybody says, well, just sell Business Premium and you got it all. But if detection of 90% is it's not up to the level, if the performance is not up to level, if you look at email security, it takes minutes to scan an email if it's malicious or not, instead of 30 seconds. So there are some differences there. But if an MSP just sells Business Premium and thinks that's enough, then yeah, who am I to judge? We all know that is not enough.
I understand. And I'm very curious, people in chat, please let us know who did we now offended, because only using EDR from Microsoft. Let us know in the chat, because I'm very curious. I hear it with a lot of partners. All of my partners are using 2 or 3 security toolings to get to the 100% instead of the 80 with Microsoft itself. And this is a nice transition, I think, to the next question that is on the plate as well. It's like then we talked about EDR. We're still talking with partners to get to an EDR, but then it calls all with the NIS2 legislation. So people are getting the responsibility of the end customers. What do you see, Cornell? Because you gave out in Q2, I thought, the MDR, and Q3 it was the XDR for Acronis.
Yep.
How many partners of Acronis are making the transition now from an EDR to an MDR standpoint?
Well, not very much, because many MSPs are small ones and local ones.
All right.
So they don't have any customers who work 24/7. So supporting their customers on a daily basis during business hours is in most cases enough. But if you are a MSP with a few people, with only a few people, then if you are on the road, then you can't do anything when a message pops up.
Yeah.
So we say, just add MDR to it. Yes, it's more expensive. Yes, it is, but it's 24/7 by 365, and it will do the things for you. It will resolve the things that are happening at your customers. But what we do different with other MDR vendors is we do not have any contact with the end customer directly. We give you a summary of the things that were happening, that happened, that have been resolved, and then your contact of the MSP with your end customer is still valid. It's your connection, it's your doing, but you extend your service by having a 24/7 by 365 instead of only business hours.
Yeah, and would you because it's very interesting to see, like, they're not implementing it because of the customers, because they're not asking for 24/7 service, because they're simply not working 24/7. But it's more a resource thing, if you're explaining it like this. So we don't
Correct.
have the resources 24/7, and so we outsource that to a vendor. Is that exactly how it looks like with Acronis?
That's correct. Yeah.
Awesome. That's good. And then Chris, like, this is a bit weird because vulnerability scanning isn't far from an MDR service, but still, how does Connected Secure jump on this security train with the transition from an EDR to an MDR? And what is your opinion about it?
Yeah, so we are not an EDR MDR service like I mentioned in the previous conversation. However, like Cornell said, it's how valuable is your time. Do you want to be in there constantly going through all these different vulnerabilities and manually doing the patches? Not really. Most people don't. Yeah, there's better areas you could focus your time to really grow your business. Our tool is unique in that it's an all-in-one solution, meaning that there's no premium upgrades, no additional add-on charges. Everything's included in the package. We have our automated patch management and automated vulnerability. We even have automated reporting. What this means is you could set up however frequent you want the scans to happen. And when it finds vulnerabilities, the patch scheduler will automatically do the patching for you. This really frees up a lot of the time. And as a lot of the MSPs on the call, I'm sure know, there's just never enough time in the day. And so this really helps kind of solve that solution by automating the process. And I believe that it's the same with the EDR from the MDR. Like now it's managed for you. The machine is doing a lot of the lift for you, taking those tedious tasks off your plate. And that's what our scheduler and patch manager do in our solution.
Yeah, and well, you describe it very good and didn't even make that correlation with each other, but that's exactly the point. And like on a commercial perspective, because I'm talking with a lot of MSPs on a weekly basis, I see the commercial difficulties that they experience with selling an EDR or selling an MDR. What are your experiences about it?
I'm sorry, me?
Yeah, no, or Cornell. No,
let me go first. Yeah. First of all, they need to know that there is MDR, that they have the option to do so. So we or you have to be in contact and tell them. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, they don't know. And if you tell them what pricing it is, then they do not fall from their chair, because it's not that much, because it saves up their time to do something else. And your time to do something else with a great hourly time you get there, it's more than the money it takes for the MDR service. So MDR needs to be there. It will do things for you, and you can do the things otherwise.
Yeah, it is. Well, it's like still you need to build up a proposition that's profitable, right? And with all the quick changes on the security landscape, and all the new products that we're implementing. So we're buying new business premium licenses because of the vendor. It's more expensive. Then we need to implement another extra EDR that's more expensive than an MDR to make it managed. How do the MSPs sell this to their end customers?
Well, perhaps one example of this. If we talked about business premium, a business premium license will cost you €20, and an MSP thinks that doing a backup of 365, which only costs 10% of what your license costs, is too much. It needs to be less than that. The same with EDR and MDR. The price is not that high, but you have to look at perspective of what it is for an insurance.
Yeah. So you say the value against the money, right? So it delivers more value than it costs you in money, and you can sell it way more proactive. And Chris, because you're talking with a lot of MSPs who are more on the proactive way, so they already try to sell it. What is your experience with selling this?
With selling Connect Secure or the MDR EDR?
Yeah, or like the security services in this landscape. Because even if you implement a new system like Connect Secure, it can be difficult to get it in a proposition.
Yeah, it can. So first, our solution is the most affordable in the marketplace. We really want to democratize security because it shouldn't cost an arm and a leg to protect your network. There's a lot of very real threats out there, and SaaS products don't need to, cost €20, a license. it's just too expensive, and we don't believe in that. So we operate on thin margins because we want everybody to be protected. And like I said, our solution's an all-in-one solution. We don't artificially enforce a price by forcing MSPs to buy add-ons or upgrades to be able to use the full solution. It's completely available to you. We do have the automated schedulers that will do the scans for you on a set basis whenever you'd like them to run, whatever increments you set. And then, of course, we have the automated patch scheduler that will do the patching. This really frees up your time. Again, like I mentioned, you don't have to manually go in and do those. But if you choose to, you can, which will result in billable hours that you could pass on to your customer. So if you want to manually patch a network and charge your customer the billable hours to do so, you can do that, and you can produce a fully white labelable report that's customizable. You could produce a report to your customer before you do the work, run the patching, run the new report, show how they're in a better, safer position, and their score has gone from an F to an A. And I think that adds a lot of value. Being an MSP, you could actually really truly show the effectiveness of the work that you're doing for your customers.
And that's exactly the point that we're seeing with our partners on Connect Secure, that with the reporting and being more proactive, it's way easier to sell it because it's way more. Oh, you can touch it as a client, you can feel it like cybersecurity. You can see with your own eyes that you're getting safer by day, and that's very good. And now we're coming in all the acronyms. So we talked about EDR, we talked about the transition to MDR, but Cornel, this is a question I get a lot, and maybe you can help us align all of us together in one time. XDR, I hear it all the time, but could you please explain us, what does XDR now exactly mean?
Yeah, for us, is XDR fairly new. XDR is just everything what's beyond the endpoint. So EDR is all about recovering something or looking at something. And with XDR, you look outside the endpoint. It can be networking, it can be Entra-ID, it can be email security, for instance. Mm-hmm. That's what we offer. More to come, but not yet there. That's something which is in development. Yeah. For instance, if you connect the XDR connector to the EDR solution we have, just a connector that you can enable, and then say, if my policy of my Microsoft tenant is that I can only log in during normal working hours, and you try to log in from Timbuktu in the weekend, mm-hmm. then it's not successful to log in. But you can do an extra action between that. If this happens, then put a lock on the device so you can't use the device anymore, for instance. So you can correlate things. This for us is that the thing that we speak about the XDR. I need to have something outside the endpoint and correlate it with each other.
And still, like it's a framework. It's not a solution. It gets sold a lot in the market like it's a separate solution. So you got EDR, you got MDR, and now you got like XDR as a solution. But it's more like a framework that you can use, right? And is it necessary for everybody to get an XDR framework in place?
No, not at all.
No, not at all. But still, Acronis saw a big potential market in there. That's the reason you guys started developing it. Who are the target audience for an XDR, and who in chat can use an EDR for this?
Yeah, just the example of another XDR connection that is coming about Microsoft 365. So that means that you not only scan your backup files for 365 every hour, but you also secure your total 365 environment by having a connector. So if something happens, you can correlate between things. So you can do things within a SharePoint or a Teams or Mailbox or OneDrive and correlate with each other, or the way how you log in, etc. So for those customers who have 365, then XDR, and also want to secure the endpoint, those are the target audience for us.
Awesome. All right. So everybody in chat, I'm very curious about how many people are already using an XDR. We've never found the solution fully based on XDR. and that's because of, I think, the framework side of things. So you need to be a complete security vendor to give an XDR. Chris, do you see in the market, do you see partners using Connect Secure implementing a framework like XDR?
Yeah, of course. We do scanning on all assets. So any unique asset will be picked up when we do a scan on a network. You could remove assets that you don't want to be scanned, but they will all be picked up. So, we're talking servers all the way down to if a Roomba vacuum is putting off an IP address. We've even picked up Teslas on networks. So ours operates in, first, I believe XDR is just a marketing buzzword. I think it's just, it's still MDR is what it is. But ours operates on a full network. And so anything that's on the network is going to be picked up. And so it really operates in what XDR is doing for, the endpoint detection and respond is kind of what we're doing for the vulnerability. We operate network-wide.
That's very good. And we just spoke about we received a question from Arjan. Always explain why using, for example, backup next to O365 with Acronis is important and show what a boom can cost. This is how he makes it visible for our customers to sell the security solution. So a customer can make a good decision. I think the proactivity starts with explaining the why. Is this something you guys do as well as vendors? So you explain why they need the vulnerability scanning and why they need a total platform player like Acronis? Is that how you guys fly it in market as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
So just really quick, the way I look at it is you need both to operate efficiently. So like knights and castles, right? The knights are there to defend the castle. They will fight any attackers that come, but they need strong fortification. We're the fortifiers. We're the ones digging the moat, making sure the drawbridge is up, finding any stones that will be in place to make sure that the knights have good fortification to fend off any attackers. Whereas like if the attackers do get in, then the knights will do the fighting and, take care of the threat, which it would be comparable to the EDR. One without the other is just not going to work. So knights defending a poor or no fortification will eventually be overrun. If they could just keep coming in, it's like a brute force attack, they're going to be overrun. A fortification without knights, without EDR, they're just going to eventually knock down the castle. And so you really need both to be effective in defending your kingdom. So that's kind of the analogy that I like to use.
That's a very good analogy. I've never thought about castles and knights. But Harman, he got a very good statement with an XDR, how he explains it. I would say an XDR is a tool set based on 2+ tools. So yeah, it's a bit of like, it's a very short version of what an XDR contains. But I'm totally with Chris, like XDR, it sounds a bit like a buzzword instead of being something on its own. But very curious to see, Cornel, and I will send all the partners, of course, who are in chat right now. If the XDRs is coming out, I would very much be keen to get in a meeting with you to showcase me how these security solutions of Acronis work. I will update everybody when it's the time for the XDR deployment. The next question, and this is one we already spoke a bit about, to see how you guys work together, because it's two different vendors. You can use them better next to each other. How do you guys operate together? And Chris, I'm very keen to understand, do you see Acronis coming over in with all of your partners?
Yeah, so again, back to the knights and fortifiers conversation. And yeah, a lot of our partners do use Acronis. I actually have a lot of Acronis swag that's been shared with us. We work very well together. We integrate very well. We're able to be whitelisted very quickly into their product, and everything operates smoothly. So I think alongside any MDR, EDR service is essential to have in operation to fully protect yourselves. But us in Acronis, we have a great relationship. We work very well together, and so it's a one-in-one
collaboration next to each other instead of working against with each other. And Cornel, do you see that the same? Is that what you're telling?
I would say I can make it even better, because we're gonna announce that we're gonna have an MDR platform for any other MDR vendor or XDR, or what it's called there, vendor to make use either or of our EDR, our devices, or our platform, and or get all the alerts and information from our platform to you. So same for Chris, that it's going to be easier in the future to connect to each other.
Oh, that's a good news, and it is nice that this is created within the Portland webinar. That's I appreciate it, Cornel. Thanks. I think like the question that is keeping me busy after the commercial, what we spoke about. This is a very interesting question. So, what technical differences should an MSP consider when choosing the right tool among the 5,000 security tools that are available? Oh man, I walked to IT Nation, for example, Connect in Orlando last year, and man, there were so many booths, and they're all preaching we're the best, we're having the best security. But what do you guys tell the MSPs that they need to consider before choosing a security vendor?
I usually start with, so there's a lot of products out there doing the same thing with a different name. All of them just do something a little different. All of them say they'll solve all your problems, and they work the best, right? Like Robin said. Trying to sort through so many different vendors is what I put on Portland. So Portland, Robin, you guys care about your brand, right? You care about the Portland brand. You don't just let anybody come on your line card and be able to be sold in your marketplace.
No.
That would be the first step. Is Portland's already done the vetting. They've already tested the solution. They've done all their due diligence to make sure that this is something that they support, going out to their MSPs. Not just anybody could come get on the Portland line card. So that's very important when working with a distributor, is they're doing a lot of the legwork for you, sorting through those 5,000 other solutions out there and really narrowing it down to what works and what's the best solution. Second is a lot of our partners in the States use a chat forum called Reddit. I don't know if this is something used in the Benelux region, but a lot of our partners go read real reviews from real MSPs that use the solutions. That would be my second go-to, is, go see what other MSPs have to say, what their experience has been. Has it been positive, negative? What do they like? What don't they like? Would they recommend it if you ask them if you're thinking about using it?
I see. That's one of my biggest information points. Next to Canellis, for example, where I get a lot of the numbers for the Benelux region. We're very good friends with them. But Reddit is, well, on the first side, it's the slaughterhouse of the MSP world. But they are very honest of all the solutions that they're using or tested or sold the commercials with. And I get a lot of my information from Reddit to see what the MSPs, what keep them busy and what are they practicing. So yeah, that's a very good one. And thanks, of course, for the first part. We're trying to get the light work done already for the MSP partners.
Yeah, trust your distributor and trust the MSP community. That's what I would say.
That's a good one. Cornel, is there something additional that you guys do as well as Acronis? Because
we've a somewhat different route. We started in 2003 with backup and disaster recovery. So that's in many discussions the starting point, because they know us from backup. So that's the way to come in, and then expand it with all the other functionalities that we have. Like, for example, question with Ian also, if you do backup 365, why not also do email security? Why not scan every mail that comes in and goes out? For instance, why don't you do that?
No.
We introduced email archiving, so every email that you get in will be archived, which is a different approach than backup. So slowly we come in and stay in and make sure that our piece of the pie will be bigger. But it's really difficult because there are many tools which are better or worse than us. Depends on what you want. But also here with MSPs, if you don't have a large amount of engineers running around, then you must make choices. So if it's easy for the interface to use, we have a combined platform. All the things that in the platform are native. So it's really easy. The interface is easy. You can do the management with less FTEs than you normally would do if you have 5 management consoles.
Yeah.
So those things also pay out.
And would you say then, it's 2003, I believe in 2020 you bought up Computergate for the PSA part of Acronis. And would you say then the strategic differences with Acronis is that you're more focused on the existing partners that are, using the backup, but don't ever use a security tool from you guys? Would you say?
Yeah. That's the focus of the last 1.5-2 years, correct.
Awesome. So that's, and I believe in vendors, and that's too additionally to this, and because of the vendor side, is we're always choosing the vendor and the guy behind the company, or the woman behind the company.
There's also something other here, because you heard me several times. We do not have it yet. We have developed it, or we will announce it shortly. It means that our platform is really changeable. We have a lot of things that we add. Every month we have a platform update with all new stuff in it. Like next month, we're going to announce the official management of 365 tenants from our platform, which is a very huge thing for us. But it makes sure that your complete ecosystem for 365 is complete. So you can do a backup, you can archive, you can scan it, you can secure it, and now you can also manage it.
Oh, that's amazing. Is that a new feature coming out, Cornel? And when do you think it's coming out?
Yeah, we announced it in 24/11. So the end of November, we will deploy it in the platform.
Oh,
so
man.
You
are there any Acronis users in chat or watching this webinar? Please let us know, and we will make sure that you receive all the updates from the vendor itself. So we will update you more proactive and be more on the left of boom. Just as you guys. Are there any questions still open for us to manage? Because we have got some other statements, but I'm very keen to ask the questions that you guys have. Before there are any other questions, we spoke a bit about the offering and how to sell everything, and that they're experiencing a bit of difficulty to sell everything. But maybe we can more focus on your specific product. So, Chris, can you tell us how are a typical MSP offering Connect Secure?
So our MSPs are working on assumed breach, and I believe it was Bart that might have put in the chat about the question about pen testing. A lot of people need to know what's on your network and is it protected. Without paying tens of thousands of dollars to find out. Cybersecurity insurance, they need that box checked. And also just to be able to protect your client, you can't protect what you don't know. So we operate in the identify category for the frameworks, depending on which one you use. And really the way our people position it is, to be able to protect the network, they have to be able to scan everything on it. And a lot of our partners use this as a prospecting tool, like I mentioned earlier. So we do fully customizable reporting. We have like 66 pre-built reports, but you could build a customizable one. And this is also white labelable, so you could put your MSP logo on it. And this is a very real report that you could produce to your partner that's indisputable. I ran a scan on your network, just a probe, and here's all the CVEs that we found. Here's what we need to patch this network. And that usually brings the partners, into the conversation, and then it becomes a pretty easy sale from there. Perpetual scanning is very important because, like I mentioned earlier, CVEs, new ones come out every 17 minutes on average. And back to the last question, the technical differences that you should look for, our tool has a repository for all the patching. So you don't have to use a third-party patching. You could do the scans and the patching all in one.
The same tool and automated, right?
And automated if you wish, yes. And so some of our partners charge like per scan. They'll charge for reporting. They'll do individual asset charges if they want to. But the most successful MSPs that I see do this, put it across their entire customer base and just charge them a flat fee. I have one partner, he has like 33 customers. He charges $24.99 a month, produces them a report every month, does the patching. The customers see the value in it. It's really, not that much. It's like a streaming subscription, if you think about it. And those ones are the ones that are most successful. And Robin can go over the pricing and how the tiering works, but we're very easy to scale because we have large blocks of assets that come in the price. So whether your customer has 200 or 800 assets, your price is going to be the same. So it's very easy to scale and really build your margin into that. So it's
we saw that as well as with the competitors that are paid by scan. It's not very MSP based, and a lot of propositions you kill with it. So we see a lot of success with Connection here in that. Cornel, how do guys or how do MSPs make an offer for Acronis and, for example, the security part? So when they're transitioning from an AV to an EDR, how did they put it in an offer?
Well, normally what we see is that an MSP will create a trial tenant, make sure that there are workloads in it, and then they can show what the capabilities are. And if they currently use AV, then they can see, well, if you add EDR to it, then these are the additional things that you can do. So normally it's done by a trial, and then just like Chris said, if you look at our tier model, it's quite easy.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. The same with Acronis, 100%. And there was a very good question from Judith, and that's more a technical differences, I think. What about SOC? Why would you choose either EDR, MDR, or SOC? Cordell, why would you?
Well, if you're a smaller MSP, then you don't need a SOC. If you're larger and divide your roles within your organization, then you definitely need a SOC to make sure that all the relevant messages come to the right place.
Yeah. So, and what's the main difference? Why would you take a SOC when you're bigger as an MSP, or why would you choose an MDR when you're smaller? What makes the difference?
Well, if you're smaller for MDR, it's just by making room for yourself for doing other jobs there. So you make sure that something else will do the patching and all those things. And for a SOC, instead of doing it itself, if you're using a SOC, then there will be more information coming in, not only from our platform, like the regular things, but also from other destinations. So in that case, there are many more things, resources to look at, and therefore you need a SOC.
Yeah, exactly. And I started laughing because of the question of Judith. This was exactly the question I wanted to ask after the answer. And we are talking about big and small, but when are you a big player in MSP world in the Benelux region, and when are you small? Because it's way other than with Chris in the States. But when are you quite big and when are you quite small as an MSP? Is that based on endpoints, based on revenue? What is it, Cornel?
I would say the number of employees per MSP.
All right. So how many employees do you need to have to be a big MSP?
Well, if you look at in the Benelux, then if you are an MSP of let's say up to 15 employees, then you're small. If you're bigger than 15 employees, you're middle or large. Because we have a lot of small companies.
And Judith, please tell us, how many employees do you currently have, so we can see if you're big or a small MSP. I'm very curious. Because of the time, guys, I'm very all right. 15 people. That's good.
You can choose.
So no SOC for Judith, and I'm very keen. Are there any questions still left from chat? Questions for Chris? Questions for Cornel? Please let us know. And
well, perhaps one question from me to everybody. Chris also told there are a lot of changes every month, every hour, every 15 minutes.
Oh yeah.
How do the people who are on this panel want to have the information? We can send an email who nobody reads, or do a seminar every 2 months, or what's a great one?
It's very good feedback, and we will get the feedback from the partners as well after this webinar. Of course, we will make sure to contact everybody to get us their opinions about this new panel, because this whole panel was like developed by the state for myself and the reflection of partners. We're like, yeah, we're done with all the presentations and just see a presentation flash by and talk about the Holy Grail. We just want to have a conversation and be more proactive with it. So yeah, I'm very keen. And Cornel, I will update you after this webinar about how we can give the information to the customers. The SaaS platform we're using shows vendor incidents, Bart tells. That's not a question, Bart. Thanks. Are there any questions still left? Because we're nice in an hour. So very good to have you both on this meeting. If you want to book a meeting with me, guys, ik zal even teruggaan naar het Nederlands. Willen jullie nou kijken naar hoe we jullie proposities beter kunnen helpen, hoe we jullie meer winstgevendheid kunnen creëren, extra proposities kunnen doen, integraties, een stukje consolideren of een betere veiligheidsstack voor jullie eindgebruikers? Laat weten, je kan met deze QR-code een afspraak in mijn agenda boeken en dan kunnen we daar samen even voor gaan zitten. Very good to see Chris. Thank you so much for making time for this webinar. Thank you so much, man. Really appreciate your time. And Cornel, of course, thank you so much. Even with a bit of struggles, it was very valuable to have you on this call, man.
15 minutes late, yeah. Thanks for having me.
Really appreciate it. The recording will be sent to everybody, so thank you so much for joining on this webinar. And yeah, thanks. Have a good day. Cheers.
Okay, bye-bye.